If you don't like to talk about reproductive health or hear about women's periods or anything like that, then this is clearly not the video for you. But if that kind of stuff doesn't bother you, or you're a little curious about hysterectomies and fibroids and all of that kind of stuff, let's talk about it. So I ran the idea across my friends and family for a couple of days now about starting a vlog about the journey that I'm about to go on. I decided a couple of months ago, probably about 2 months ago, that I'm going to have a hysterectomy. So the hysterectomy is in less than 7 days at this point. And when I went, to try to find information about some things that I felt like would be pertinent information to know, or things that I was just curious about, like post-op, pre-op, the procedure, things like that, I couldn't really find anything solid. So I figured, who better to put some information out there than me? I feel like that nobody wants to talk about periods. Nobody wants to talk about women's reproductive health. Fibroids are not talked about at all and very misunderstood. And that's a really big deal for me because they affect Black women at higher rates than anybody. Like literally out of my 3-4 aunties, every single one of them has had to have a hysterectomy due to fibroids and excessive period bleeding and all of that kind of stuff. So I figured, hey, I'll talk about it. I'll put some information out there, let people know, how I feel, what's going on, how I got to the point of, deciding that a hysterectomy was going to be in my best interest. The whole journey, like, from today until this time next year, I want to do videos and see, how I feel mentally, physically, if I felt like I made the right choice, if I felt like I did what was in my best interest, which I'm pretty sure that I will. But I would love for people, to take the journey with me. Yes, I am sitting in my car, as a side note, because it was so heavy on my mind that I was like, hey, let's go ahead and get it started. What better time than now? And I could take a little break at work, so here I am. That's neither here nor there. Anyway, first, a little bit about me. I am 39. I have 3 children, one about to be 21, another that is about to be 18. My baby will be 15 in November. So for me, having a hysterectomy, it wasn't a debate about preserving my fertility or, being concerned with being able to have children anymore, because one, my baby is about to be 15 at this point. I don't want any more, small children. And 2, my tubes have actually been tied since I gave birth to Malachi. Like, I had my tubes tied in the hospital before I left to assure that there wouldn't be any more babies. So it was never a debate for me about whether or not I wanted to preserve my fertility, have children. But I do know that for women that have fibroids but also do not have children, that is a really big debate and something that they have to process. I'm thankful that that wasn't something I had to go through. So let's talk about how I got to the point of wanting to have a hysterectomy. So like I said, nobody ever talks about women's reproductive health. Like, that's just not a thing that people really talk about. So I have always had really bad periods, like really, really, really bad periods. But because nobody ever talks about it, I thought that was normal. I thought it was normal to have to wear an overnight pad and ultra tampons, which they don't sell in all stores up until probably about a year or 2 ago. I was actually having to order them off of Amazon. I thought that everybody's period and cramps were just that bad. So 2013, I ended up having to go to the doctor, found out I had polyps. I had a DNC, ended up having to have some blood because, I had bled out really bad prior to having the surgery. It was a mess. But I was still determined that I was going to hold on to, my uterus for whatever reason. More so less because I was scared of having a hysterectomy. Now, like I said, all the women in my family just about had to have one. And I had one auntie that had one when I was in high school. So her fibroids were so big that they had to cut her from her sternum to her pelvis, right? They cut her like that, and somehow in the midst of the surgery, they ended up tying her intestines in a knot, but didn't know this. So she stayed in the hospital for probably about a month. Like, they were running IVs through her neck, and she had lost all of this weight and she was sick. They didn't know what was going on. Eventually, they cut her again from sternum to pelvis and realized that, you know, they tied her intestines in a knot. They untied them, fixed it. After that, she was fine. But for me, just the fact that she had to go through that was enough to kind of scare me off from getting, you know, a hysterectomy at that point. So I tried tranexamic acid. I can't even tell you all the things that I did try over the years, but I know there's been quite a few. The tranexamic acid worked for me as far as slowing down my bleeding a little bit, but it didn't really do anything for, you know, the fibroids, because nothing is going to really get rid of fibroids except for having a hysterectomy. Like, you can have myomectomies and all of this kind of stuff, but the chances of it growing, the polyps or fibroids or whatever growing back, is great. So I didn't want to do that. Like, I'm not the type of person that wants to try this and let's see if this works. I'm more of a let's do this and get it over with type of person. So again, that was a reason that I ended up wanting to just do the hysterectomy. I tried, you know, like I said, various types of little pills, and the Lupron was a suggestion. Side effects were too much to me, like chemo. So it's not something I was interested in. What else was something else that it was a lot of things that I tried before I came to the conclusion that a hysterectomy was going to be in my best interest. Another deciding factor was the amount of blood I was losing every month. It's ridiculous. My hemoglobin last year was like a 6.5 or a 7 or something like that. So who wants to function like that? Like, always tired, dark circles up on the eyes, night sweats, blah, 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 blah. A lot of stuff that goes on with that. So then another thing with the fibroids was pain. I'm not just in pain when my period is on. I'm in pain, period. Like, I'm always having cramps. My legs cramp up, my feet cramp up. It feels like my period is on all the time. So when, you know, my doctor done the ultrasound and, you know, seen the fibroids and that kind of stuff, and she was describing to me that I have like 4, but one in particular that I have is like inside of my uterus. And so my body feels like that it shouldn't be there. And so what it tries to do is push it out. So it's like I'm having contractions, and that's why I'm always cramping. Who the hell wants to live like that? None for me, thanks. I'm done here. So another factor for me was just the everyday stress of like just feeling bad. To put things in perspective for you about my period, I can recall being at the store, at a convenience store with my son, like getting some chicken because I eat a lot. And I'm at the register to pay for our food, and I feel a gush. Now, if you have menorrhagia or fibroids, you know the gush that I'm talking about. Flooding is what the doctors call it. I feel a gush, and so much blood has came out and has hit this floor in the convenience store. These people think that I'm having a miscarriage and try to call an ambulance for me. Who wants to do that every month? Who? Why if you don't have to? Now, again, let me say that to the women that opt to keep their uterus and, you know, opt to do myomectomies and the immunizations and all of that kind of stuff so that you don't have to have a hysterectomy, I do not knock you at all. This is definitely a self-choice. My choice is to be done. I want to live my best life. I'm, you know, getting older. I'll be a grandma soon. I want to experience life normally. And it's sad that at 39, and I've been having a period since I was 14, I don't know what normal is. So I couldn't even tell you what baseline is supposed to be because I've never been there. So that's a little backstory. I'm sure as time goes on that, you know, I'll tell you more. You'll learn more. Any questions that you have, I'm willing to answer. I do have 2 pre-op appointments that I want to talk about. So I'll do another video on the first pre-op appointment, maybe later on tonight or something like that. Then I have another one in a few days, so I'll talk about that. I want to, like I said, I want this to be a journey. I want this to be an experience. I want this to be extremely informative to any woman out there that is going through this, is experiencing this. You're not by yourself. This happens to a lot of women. It is something that is so extremely common, but it's also something that nobody talks about, because nobody wants to hear about period blood. Nobody wants to hear about reproductive health. Nobody talks about that kind of stuff. But I am, because it's nothing to be ashamed of. Without a woman having her period point blank, the human race doesn't continue. Why should I feel ashamed and not want to educate people on something that is so normal? It's gonna happen. You're going to have a period. If you are a man that is with a woman, she's going to have a period. If you have daughters, your daughters are going to have periods. So why can we not normalize this? Why can we not have a conversation about it? Why can't we educate so that people can learn what is and is not normal when it comes to you having your menstrual cycle? We talk about every damn thing else. Why can't I tell you what's going on with my body, how I feel, how I got here, etc., etc.? So I just wanted to put that out there, that this is what's about to go down. So all my lovely people that have helped me come up with names and ideas, and that are being very supportive, and that have my back over have had my back over the past couple of months, and that are going to go through this journey with me. I love you so much. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to provide some education and some support, and do anything that I can to help anybody else that may be in this situation as well. And I will definitely see you guys later.